Hi, welcome. I want to thank you all for being here. I realize that this is a really deeply niche topic, talking about specific kinds of electronic access to SCA events. I'm happy to see someone else is interested in this. I fell into it sort of by accident, initially as a web minister's deputy and now a social media officer. I've been doing this about 4 years for my local barony. It's not really just advertising and promotion. A lot of this is going to be communications. Of course, our event stewards always need us to help them get enough people in the door to at least break even. But at the same time, we want our populace to be involved. We need a lot of volunteers. And when you want your attendees to come, you want them to be prepared. What things do they need to bring? What things should they not bring? Help them have a happy and successful experience, especially important for very first time newbie Scadians. This is part of recruitment and retention, in my opinion. And I'm going to talk about a lot of things. I'm going to say, isn't that a lot of work? One thing I recommend, especially with a larger event, let's not burden our event stewards who are already very busy with doing all of this on top of their jobs. They have a feast steward. They have marshals. They've got people that handle arts and sciences scheduling and classes and schedule blocks. I am an advertiser. This is my piece of the event puzzle. That's my job. And so certainly many hands make light work. I think it's nice to go ahead and train up a cadre and have a group of people whose job is just communication. That's what I do. We're going to go through this in 4 chapters, and we do have to start with policy. There's a lot of policies that affect this, and they can be really hard to find. I'm going to talk briefly about an introduction to the platforms we'll use with a focus on Facebook because that's where we are today, but also a discussion of where we might need to go for the future. Most of our time is spent on best practices for social media campaigns. There's things it's good at and things it's bad at. And knowing their difference and where to draw the line and how to work with it is really important. And then finally, we'll talk about an exact event timeline. There's a reference document. I sent everyone an email. You don't need to scurry to put this down. There's a very complex Google Docs link, or you can use the slightly easier to remember website that I have here. It is long. It is as complete as I can make it, and so just grab the parts of it that you need. And again, if you sign up for the class, you have the email. If my moderator can kindly put this in the comments at some point, that would be great too. There's a lot of rules. Because I'm teaching in Atlantia, I went through Atlantean policy, but I also already had this set up for Antier, so I just left that in. On top of that, we have a lot of society rules. There is no one document talking about communications. This mess is what I had to sort through to work this out, and I'm trying to save you from the same agony. First of all, SCA policy, all events with a capital E, we'll get to that in a minute, have to be announced in advance at the kingdom level in the kingdom newsletter if society standing is going to be affected. What we're talking about here, awards, court. If there's going to be court, it needs to be in the newsletter. If you're going to do any social media for an event, SCA says you cannot do social media until it's been announced on a newsletter or an official website. So not everything goes in the newsletter. But in order to do social media, you at least need to throw it on your branch website. And then most kingdoms, this is true at least for Antier and Atlantia and the others I've looked at, actually don't let you do the newsletter until you do the kingdom calendar. So your actual workflow is start with the kingdom calendar. And from there, you're allowed to do the newsletter and the social media in parallel. This only applies to events, what I call with a capital E. According to policy, events are characterized by having a site fee with the non-member registration fee, aka non-member surcharge, aka member discount. In my communications, I call it a member discount because it's a lot nicer sounding than non-member surcharge. So I call it a member discount. And you have to have garb. Those are events with a capital E according to policy. Of course, in the online world, we're getting a little bit of blurring on this with free events where you wear garb or don't wear garb. We do loads of stuff that isn't an event and that the policy about newsletters and calendars doesn't even apply to. If it is a planning meeting, a business meeting, and business meetings are quirky, I'll get to that in a second. Workshops, demos, fighter practice, A&S play days, none of this stuff is an event with a capital E. Policy just says announce it to your local group, however works for your local group, with one exception buried in the Seneschal's handbook about official business meetings. Your official business meetings need to be publicly announced on your website, like just when and where, because they need to be accessible. And so this is a little grid and a chart that I've made, and it's also in the handout. But what do you have to do for different kinds of events? Because of course I'm promoting activities from my local branch as well as events, and sometimes we host kingdom events. And so all of these things, and you'll notice again, events with a capital E, cost money, member discount, wear garb, do the calendar, then the newsletter, do your websites in parallel. And one thing people don't realize, your branch probably has 2 Facebook presences, and you might only know about one. You're going to have a page that is your official SCA outward-facing, publicly accessible space that might have 3 or 4 admins in your office or team. And then you have your populous group, which is what we all actually use every day. Loads of people chatting about loads of things. Everyone can post. Your events must go on the page, so you're going to need a little bit of help to set those up. And then we have disclaimers again in the handout. I also gave you the policies. Just copy and paste them. SCA level policy. Kingdom website, calendar, newsletter, official websites have disclaimers too. They're not your problem. The web ministers take care of that. You'll see it at the footer or the bottom of the page, and you never really interact yourself. But if you're setting up a Facebook event, you do need to have a disclaimer talking about official channels and external links buried in the social media handbook. And here has an additional disclaimer. So you always want to check your kingdom rules in the Antier social media policy. So I have 2 disclaimers on all of my Facebook events. And this one is really just paraphrasing the SCA harassment and bullying policy, which has to be across the entire society on all of your printed materials and everything displayed, and also displayed at gate. And so Antier has just chosen to paraphrase this and add it to Facebook events. Which, always kind of sounds kind of nice, like, yay, we're friendly, we like people, don't be an asshole. Oh, I probably can't say that on the internet. Do not be a bad person. Just be a decent human. If you're doing video publications, like right here, you probably noticed that there was a disclaimer when we got started about how things might be recorded and your personage might be recorded as well. And these are also in the SCA social media handbook. Again, this is all just boilerplate, copy and paste. This is something event teams often don't know. And half the time our social media ministers don't know, because this is buried in the documents for seneschals and web ministers. But a lot of us are doing web work when we're not web ministers. We're not seneschals, but we are working on their behalf as officers. So modern names, home addresses, work addresses, phone numbers, and personal emails are personally identifiable information protected by policy. Just means use people's SCA names as much as possible. If your local guild has a meeting at a public home, don't put that on the public Facebook, on the public side of the internet. Have a please email the guild master to get the address privately. Just don't put the address out there. Be like, hey, this is at a private home. Communicate. This is at a private home. Email the guild master. Here's their email. Hopefully not their personal one, but even if it is, get their written permission. And that's it for policy. So it's not too bad. Any questions on that part? I'm just I've got my little heads over here, so I'm checking for hands and things like that. Okay, policy then. Now, actual platforms. This is going to be a little bit of a whirlwind because there's a lot of platforms, and I'm working in all of these. Not everyone will, but again, we're starting with the Kingdom Calendar, and there's going to be a website for it. Pretty much everything's gone online. I will tell you a hint. Even if your Kingdom Calendar team offers you the choice of printing a PDF and mailing it to somebody, don't do it. Use the websites. It's so much faster, because otherwise you're asking a very busy volunteer to take all of your information and type it in all over again. Just, please use the event forms. Your life will be easier. And again, your entire promotion campaign is on hold until this goes live on the calendar. You don't want it delays at this point, as it is the single biggest thing you can do. And then your Kingdom newsletter is the thing that SCA requires, and they do require advance warning, generally a month. right? So like, let's say I've got a January 1st deadline for my newsletter copy to go in. That newsletter will actually go live online around January 15th. People that still do mail, it's going to start being mailed. And that's why we start so early for something that will be in the February issue. Now, Antier kind of kills us. They like to have stuff published months in advance of the event. So we've got deadlines for this 2 and 3 and 3+ months before events. From what I saw, I believe Atlantia just needs it to be at least published in the month for which it occurs. Is that correct? Okay, I'm seeing some nodding. Okay, that was my understanding. So that's nice. But you'll notice these look really similar. This is the level of detail that goes to the newsletter and that needs to be on your Kingdom calendar. You can put more there, but this is what they say it must be announced on. This is what they mean. Realize you don't have to put every event in the newsletter, but if it's going to have court, awards, things that affect society standing, you do. And any little branch, no matter how small, must have at least one event a year in the newsletter by policy that's big enough to be newsletter in order to be continuing as an active group. A lot of us have more. My group usually has 3 a year that are this size. That's all we need by policy, and it's terribly outdated. So we have this great census that the SCA did a few years ago on members. And so these are going to be people that are into the SCA enough to voluntarily fill out an online form. These are people that are pretty into it. And over a third of them admitted they did not get or did not read the Kingdom newsletter at all. That's always required by policy. It doesn't work. 2/3 are using social media daily for the SCA. That's where we have to go to get them. So you're going to have a Facebook event page. And again, the too long didn't read version, get help. There's a local officer, I'm a social media officer. In a smaller branch, it might be your seneschal. Or someone might have combined it with a web minister role. And so because your event page needs to be set up by the official SCA branch Facebook page, which is going to have like 3 admins, your seneschal and your web minister and your social media officer are pretty good bets. They're going to set that up. It has to be publicly viewable. It has to have the little disclaimers, and then it needs to be monitored for people on the internet that are not great people. And so it's great to get help for this because now it gives you that entire SCA structure to back you up should there be bad actors. And we don't see a lot. We're a big branch. We are a featured mega host on Facebook, and all we get is the occasional spam trying to sell marketing space and booth space at events where, yeah, that's not legit. So I just nuke them as fast as they come on. But do have your branch officer make you a co-host, because then you, as the event advertiser, the event steward, can make changes yourself without having to wait to go through all that process. Once it's set up, you can have control. And that's where we are today. We probably shouldn't be surprised. In the last survey, the average age, median age in the SCA is 54. We're not young. You know what the median age is for Facebook? Like 45. And so we are aging along with our social media presence. If we want to get more young members, we might need to diversify. You're going to be a lot younger. You're going to get at least a decade off of Instagram. You're going to get 2 decades off of TikTok. You're going to get almost 1 off of Discord. And YouTube actually has the broadest age range of all. Everybody from the old to the young watches YouTube. So like a 30-second promo video on YouTube is going to get you some play. And then there are some other formats that are officially recognized by the SCA, but I don't use them a lot because they just don't have big chunks of the market. Now, a lot of what I'm talking about today, just as a warning, is going to be advertising for SCA events to SCA people. People that at least know what a Kingdom calendar is and have some idea how to get to it, who sort of know where to look for this, or they're in your populous group. But you need to remember, if you're doing a public demo, to expand. You might go back to old school printed flyers at places where gamers or medievalists or history buffs hang out. You might look at your local newsletter. Usually your newspaper is going to have an events section that will let you list things for free. If you're talking about Facebook, there's also community groups for your county or your city or your region that you can share with. And again, that 30-second video promo in an upright phone format can be used on literally every platform that takes video. So you can make one item and just cross-post. Cross-posting is your friend. Because you're still going to be doing a little bit of on-site printed material. Focus on things that are complex. I like to do maps or schedule grids, and signage can substitute for some of this. Having a sign outside a room saying what events are going on in that room during the day, it costs you one sheet of paper. Or you can put a QR code on a sign to direct people if there's a site with good internet access. Everyone's packing a cell phone now, or at least the young ones that don't know where to find this information are packing a cell phone, and they know how to use QR codes. And so you could put up a QR code and be like, hey, here's the event website with all the details. You want the ingredients for the food, it's on the website. You want the long description of every class, it's on the website. Here's your printed handout with the schedule grid for the classes and the QR code to the long descriptions. So we can pair this sort of material. And that gets you, and then of course, Instagram hashtags. Hashtags are things that your participants' friends are going to see. And people subscribe to hashtags, not just to individuals. And that's a way you can get free advertising. All right, that is a real whirlwind. You can contact me privately later if you have problems working with any of these platforms, and I'll give you a hand. But any questions overall? All right, then.
Quick question. Is there a recommended list of hashtags that you have?
Oh, I do have some thoughts, and they'll come later. I didn't, the slides are a little in a weird order. They are coming, yes. I do have recommended hashtags. Claude?
I was just wondering if, for people more in the know than I, are Discord social policies coming? Because I know many more people, at least in my area, and especially people who may not know regular SCA policies. Basically that. Are we getting Discord social policies?
Right now, Discord is an officially approved SCA format, but it's just falling under the same umbrella as all the other social media policy. So I would just use the same disclaimer on a Facebook event and a Discord event, for example. Yeah, we are using Discord as well. Good one. Anything else? I don't see any other hands, and okay, no one's coming in on comments. We'll have time at the end as well. All right, so now what? This is actually the good stuff. This is the meat of it. How do you really use social media effectively? Like I said, 2/3 of our Scadians are using it daily to find out about SCA stuff, but how do we use it effectively to give the most bang for our buck? We don't want to repeat ourselves a lot, and we want to get a lot of mileage out of a little bit of work. We are busy, we're volunteers. This is going to be the bane of your existence. Till dear, too long didn't read. Welcome to the internet. If it's more than 150 characters, it's going to get dicey on social media because social media is designed for short format. It's designed for bite-sized bits of information, not for long communiques. It's not a newsletter. You get like 140, 180 characters, depending on platform. And then it's going to truncate all of your words behind that see more link. Everyone's seen these, right? See more. Not only that, with the way the algorithm works, it is deeply random. Discord is better about this than Facebook, but either way, what people do and do not see is going to be random. Never plan on every person seeing every post. It's just not going to happen. Someone's going to miss things. But everyone that interacts with your post is going to make it more visible to everyone around them, at least on algorithm-based platforms like Facebook. And it's really easy as they share those for the original information and the event it's about to get completely detached. And now people are like, this looks cool, but what's it for? So we can help them by writing better posts. We're going to pair this, strongly recommended best practices. Pair this with a website. Websites are meant for big information, complexity. You can have tables, you can have charts, you can have lists, you can have a lot of information. You're going to have one website that you maintain with all of the information about the event, and you're going to point everything to it. And by policy, it doesn't have to be the Kingdom calendar. It can be your branch SCA website that you have sent the Kingdom calendar to by policy. In some kingdoms, the practice, what they want you to do might be different, but the policy is that it has to be any official SCA website. So here's some great examples of see more. And you look at this and you think, if I had seen this post, would I be intrigued enough to click the link? Did the advertiser succeed? And I think these are pretty good examples. Good Gentles, give me a moment to highlight one or two classes. First among the superstar teachers, see more. Are you intrigued? Would you click? Would a reasonable person click? Here you go. Here's something a little bit drier. They know it's dry. Till dear, applicant for rapier office. You already know what it's about, and you know if you're interested in applicants for rapier office that you can click see more. And finally, again, West War, tomorrow, good afternoon. Notice how we've preloaded the content. Tomorrow is the last day to pre-register. Notice the date of closure, because I don't know, tomorrow's the last day to pre-register, but this was 5 days ago. Uh-oh, but I know I missed it because they told me. Again, good, well-authored posts can help people a lot. Here's another one where they just embrace the fact that it's going to truncate all the text and just put it all on the photo. Social media loves photos. If you've got a lot of words that people actually need to see, like a schedule grid, screenshot it. Just take a picture of the words, because now it's magically exempt from social media's tendency to truncate text. You're going to need images. The internet, social media, the internet runs on pictures, and you're going to need them, but we are, again, required to think about copyright. But as a nonprofit, we have very generous terms of use. We're talking about, photos and museum exhibits, almost every historical thing, manuscript repository, online museum will have a terms of use. You want to look for that, click on it. And generally it's like, hey, tell people where you found it. Give us credit for our own work. And even if they don't require it, do it. We are an entire society of history geeks. And if you use a historical picture, someone's going to ask you where it's from. So just save yourself time by putting it up there right front, because someone's going to ask whether it's required or not. This is an example. This is one that I did off of a historical manuscript. It was a 15th century German feast, so I went to 15th century German cookbooks. Grabbed a photo, adapted it, and made a post out of it. If the picture is taken by or the artwork is made by or about people in the modern SCA, grab the release forms handbook and follow its instructions. You might need a model release form. There's explanations for what it is, but ultimately it comes down the difference between portrait style, like here is a picture of so-and-so looking pretty, versus photojournalism style. Here are 3 people watching 2 fighters on the field, and the fighters' names happen to be this. That's photojournalism. You don't need a model release. I still ask them to be polite. Hey, can I throw your picture on Instagram? People almost never say no. But again, go for group pictures, action, story pictures, not portraits. You might not know that the SCA also keeps a library of pictures that all of us can use for all SCA related stuff for free through the Digital Scribes program. And you might not know that some kingdoms have stood up their own version, and we're looking to stand one up in my branch. So just a library of pictures paired with grant of release forms that all of us can use according to the terms in the release form. So there's a lot of great ways to get pictures. And finally, who here has dealt with Creative Commons licensing? Okay, I'm seeing some kind of ish and some blank looks. So there are 6 types of Creative Commons licenses, and let me give you the nutshell. As a nonprofit, if you do not modify their picture, you can use them all with attribution. Everything on the internet with any Creative Commons license, if you don't change their picture and you give them credit, you can use it because we're a nonprofit. So Creative Commons, like everything on Wikimedia, every wiki ever runs on Creative Commons. There is some good stuff. So we have a lot of great choices. And once you have the picture, now you're going to run into your next problem. How big do I make it? And the answer is we don't talk about sizes anymore. Whatever picture you use might be on someone's phone, and it might be on a huge TV. And so we talk about ratios, like kind of like how tall to how wide are they? And these are my recommendations. For the cover image, the top of your event cover image, that thing at the top of the banner, you're going to be looking at 16:9 with some really strong caveats. Facebook's upcoming events, it chops the top and the bottom off, and Discord's events use that same chopped off profile, so really short and skinny. At the same time, the list of events people have already selected are going to have the sides chopped off, so they're a 4:3. So with Facebook, do a nice big picture and stick all the words in the middle. Once you have that in a 16:9, you can use it on Discord or your website or everywhere else, and it'll work great. The same way for your regular post images, I always do 1:1 or 4:3 because they show well on every platform. So 1:1 and 4:3 are really going to be your best. And again, if you're doing a short video, do it in the upright phone format of 9:16. And if you keep it under a minute, you can use it everywhere. And then long videos and live feeds are their own critter. They're not used as much for advertising. So again, let's go back to our cover image. We have a historical picture, and the event description tells people where it came from in case they want to read a 15th century German cookbook. Some of them do. Seriously, some of them do. But we know from just the photo who's hosting, what it is, the date, not next Tuesday, October 21st, and a little bit about what it's about so that people that are new to the SCA who've never been to a harvest feast have some idea of what they're getting into. What is it? From the same example, then, these were posts during the same promotional campaign, the same advertising communications. We have one about parking. We have one about the lunch menu. In both cases, if someone never read a single word, do you think they could get the point? That's kind of important. Again, social media, got a lot of people skimming through and just looking at the pictures. So one of them is a last minute warning about, hey, we're going to run out of parking. We have an overflow lot. This is where it's at. The image is standalone, and on the right, we wanted people to actually know what the menu was without having it buried under a link, and so we put it on the picture. Words that can't be hidden. And again, we look at the first 140 characters so that if see more happens to us, we know if it's going to intrigue the reader enough to click. And a fun one, the Facebook algorithm will favor anything that starts with a question mark because it wants interaction. Interaction drives more ads and it drives more revenue, and things that start with questions tend to drive more answers, and therefore they get a boost. It's kind of dumb, but it kind of works. So there's a fun little trick. And then again, I used a map from Google. I looked at their attribution requirements and I followed them. I use my website. Whatever you do, if you're setting this up, you may want to look at, if you're using a full-size computer, take a moment to look at it on your phone and make sure it's not screwy. Because a lot of people are using their phone. Everyone on the day of the event is using their phone. Everyone on the day of the event. And like 80% of the Facebook users, I think it's up to 83% now, are on their phones. So think about that. And if you're doing downloadables, I only recommend a few file formats. They're free to everyone. They can be opened on any platform, and they are as accessible as we can be. That's PDF, JPEG, and PNG. So if you're going to do like a big downloadable schedule grid or a handout, try to please be mindful of things. And then you've got it. You've made this event. You've put in a lovely cover photo. You put it up, and no one sees it. The way social media works, you're popular because you're popular. And when you first make an event, since no one has seen it before and no one has liked it, it's not popular. You need to click this little arrow down here to get this drop-down menu and share it to your Populous group. Remember, this was made by your branch page that nobody inside the Populous even knows exists. Like, seriously. They don't even know it's out there, but it is your external. When all of your newcomers go to the page, like, this is what your newcomers see. So you need to share this to your internal group or any neighboring groups or anyone that you think is going to be into it. Even as a save the date, just get people to click anything here because it makes you popular, and then they'll see more of your information. Do not share it outside of Facebook. If you share your Facebook event outside of Facebook, guess what people see? Yeah, that's super welcoming, right? Oops. So that's why I said have a one-stop shopping website because you can share that website with everyone that's not on Facebook and they will still be able to see it and they will love you. Also, watch out for Facebook tracking links. This is just the quickest example I could grab. And notice this big long link, and Google Docs are always gobbledygook, but see what's on the end of it? Question mark Facebook click ID equals more gobbledygook. That is a Facebook tracking link. If you use this particular, and this was from an email, so this is an example of what not to do. If you use this link outside of Facebook and I wasn't logged in and I clicked it, guess what I would get? I would get this because this is a Facebook tracking link. The fix, see that question mark and everything after it? They're all crap. You never need the question mark or anything after it. You can safely delete it from any URL on the internet. So just nuke the end and it fixes the whole thing. But I see this a lot because people, it looks normal on Facebook and then you copy it somewhere else and you're like, where did all this crap come from? Yeah, that's a tracking link. Just nuke it. Now, good policy, social media posts, because they're random, post early, post often, and post completely. Think about the fact that this post could end up God knows where, and that anyone that sees it out of context should hopefully have a way to get back to the original website and learn from it. So do not count on it being in order. Do not count on it being timely. Do not count on anyone seeing everything. So do include the name of the event and either the date or a link to the web page, enough information that someone seeing it out of context can hunt it back to source. Do post regularly and do share again with the populace group if it's important, like a pre-registration link. Make sure they don't miss the date. And yes, you can schedule. Although the large-scale scheduling tools are only available to page admins, all event co-hosts can schedule all event activities. This little tiny calendar here, so you write your post, you click the cute little calendar, and you can say, I want it to come out next Tuesday at 5 p.m. And you can edit it if something comes up before you release. So work on your own schedule. Don't make this hard. You know, you have a half an hour, you can write 5 or 6 of these, schedule them, and walk away for 2 weeks. Okay, someone asked, recommended hashtags? Yes. I break these into 3 categories. Where you are, this is going to get outsiders, this is going to get newcomers who are physically in your area to see your content. So for example, my county, my state, or my region, the Pacific Northwest. Things based on your hobby, like the Society for Creative Anachronism, will get other Scadians to see your content. And for people that hate typing that in their phone, we have my SCA. And then medieval combat or medieval costuming or medieval sewing or medieval anything. And then finally, this is a fun one, regram my SCA if you want to be nice to your social media officers. This allows them to share your Instagram stuff on Instagram without a grant of use form. A little limited, but better than nothing. And then activity-based, not SCA-based, but 14th century fashion. There are people that follow this. That is their geek. And they will find you. Yeah, 14th. Yeah, these are hashtags I use. So yeah, there's people that follow these, and it will get you to people that are into your geek that otherwise wouldn't see you if you didn't use hashtags. So any other thoughts? Any other hashtags someone wants to throw out? Any other ideas or comments on hashtags? Yeah.
So this is more for the design side of things, but I know to get engaging images, you need certain things. And there is a lovely website called Canva that acts very much like Photoshop, but much more friendly.
Thank you. Photoshop is not friendly. And he's right. You do need a way to somehow put those pictures and those words together in an attractive fashion. Thank you for Canva. Good shout out. Anyone else? All right. So, and then finally, whatever you're using, please keep an eye open for comments. Facebook is notorious for this. Discord, it depends on your channel settings. So just pop in on your own event every couple of days and see if there's questions waiting for an answer, because you can get caught by surprise. And again, if you have internet trolls, this is why you have had your officers set it up, because you can just be like, I've got a problem person. Seneschal, can you make this better? Shouldn't be your job as an event advertiser or an event coordinator to deal with these people. We have a structure for that already. Okay, so in reality, because I sort of am working in this niche of advertisers, my biggest problem is getting information. And I think most of our stewards have seen this too. They like got a deadline. I need the feast menu by such and such a day. And the day comes by and you're like, guys, they're like, we're volunteers. Life got in the way. So, try to nudge them, try to gently get information. If, like me, you aren't the steward yourself and you're not at the center of this spider's web of people and you know everything going on, maybe your event steward will just CC your advertising person on stuff or include them in your planning group or throw them a copy of the memo from your planning meetings and they can use what they can. There's a lot of ways to get info. And this is a lot of dump, all really fast. How we doing? All right, so far so good. Finally, I want to do a sample campaign. Basic policies, post early, post often. If it's an important deadline, 3 posts, not 1, 3. Highlight the good stuff, be nice to newcomers, be upfront about accessibility, and think about frequently asked questions. I can start up to a year in advance for a big event. With save the date. Again, advertising, promotions, it doesn't need all the details right up front. All I need is a cover photo, a 3-sentence description, and a save the date. All you need for most Kingdom calendars is a place, a person in charge, and the location. Antier's calendar actually even lets us set it up with just a date and a seneschal, and we can fill the rest in later. Get it on the calendar as quickly as you can, and then as soon as you do, get your Facebook or your Discord events up as quickly as you can, and then share it with the populace. All you want in this way in advance is to let people know it's out there. Now, 3 months in advance is when we actually get information together. You're going to have probably now a completed bid, so you know how much it's going to cost. You might have an idea like, okay, we've got the hall at 8, we need a couple hours to set up, so probably we're going to start the event at 10. We're probably going to open the entry gate at 10. You'll get enough information for the newsletter within this, 2 to 3 months in advance, and then again, use your web minister for the website. Use your social media officer if you have one to help you with social media, or you should be a co-host by now. And this is where I post just every couple of weeks, once or twice a month to keep it alive with the big stuff. Like, I don't know, it's called Harvest Feast. Yes, there is food. Okay, yay, we're going to have food. Maybe we have a theme for the food. Maybe I'll say, yay, we're going to have food and the feast team is working on the menu. That's okay, that's enough. We don't need it all. It's enough to say we're working on it. We're going to be doing stuff. What I do as soon as I can, because now we have a site contract and we've seen the site, we can talk about accessibility. We can talk about restrictions like alcohol or fire, quiet hours after 10, things like that are pretty common. And then we can think about newcomers. If this is your first SCA event, you probably needed to know that you were supposed to bring your own plate to a meal that you paid for. That's kind of counterintuitive to most outsiders. And again, if you're going to tell them to bring a plate, either don't use the word feast kit or maybe define it because it's not going to mean anything to them yet. They'll get there. Accessibility, you're not alone. You don't have to make it up yourself. We understand that not every site can be everything for every person. We also understand that whether or not you can come might depend on accessibility answers. And so get the information out there and allow people to make informed decisions. And there's this great checklist. Atlantia is actually well ahead of Antier on this one. So this is one that I would refer to see what do we need to think about and communicate so that people can make an informed decision if they fit. And same thing for newcomers. There's a variety of event guides. There's one from the SCA. We have one from our barony. I wrote it. So if you want to like rip this off and copy it and adapt it to your own, go for it. You have my permission. But a newcomer's guide to your first event with basic information. If it's a feast, what do you bring? If there's combat activities, what do you bring? If it's outside in the summer, we have a lot of bring your own chairs events, and that always gets people. Like, bring your own chair? Oh, I didn't know. Tell them. All of that is way in advance before your real campaign gets rolling. Again, all you need is a site contract and a walkthrough, and you can fill that out on the website. It's really early. These are specific examples now of things that are commonly found at SCA events that you're probably going to be dealing with in communication side. Pre-registration, at least 3 posts. We have pre-registration sometimes for sites. We might have it for camping. We might have it for a tournament. We might have it for a feast. And some of those are going to take money and some of them aren't. And they're all going to have the same questions. As soon as you say, we have opened pre-registration, someone wants to know when it closes, I guarantee you. And someone wants to know if there's money involved, like when do I pay you and how do I pay you and what if I don't pay you? And of course, what if I miss the deadline and do I even have to do this at all? Can I just like pay at the door? Like, do I even have to do this? Or, okay, I prepaid and I signed up. What if I get sick? Is there a cancellation policy? As soon as you open these, you're going to have the exact same questions every single time. And it's your choice if you want to put it all on the website up front or answer every single person individually. So fun. Okay. So again, examples of pre-registration questions. Examples of camping questions. We're going to have all the usual ones with, money and deadlines and things like that, but we have a bunch more. We have modern tents, historical tents, and RVs. They might have different rules or different ideas. We have group encampments, we have accessibility questions, and we have amenities questions. Water, toilets, like kind of toilet, flushies versus porta potties, showers, how far away is the drinking water from my tent? Things like that. And then for RVs, of course, they'll want to know if there's utility hookups, and often they want to know if there's a special RV entrance, because if you've ever tried to back one of those things out of a crowded campground, not recommended. Your RV people will want some instructions on where to go and how to pull in. Food. Lots of our events have food. Maybe it's bring your own lunch. Just tell people, hey, bring your own lunch. Like warn them in advance that they need to pack a picnic. Don't let the poor thing show up and be hungry. If we've got potlucks, then people always want to know, like, what am I supposed to bring? And how many of them am I supposed to bring? And they will always forget to bring a serving utensil. And you probably need to remind them to put the ingredients on so that people with food allergies can pick and choose the things they can safely eat. Same thing with a feast. It's really best to get the menu out before you try to ask people to pre-register and give you money, because some of them won't know if they can eat the feast until they see the menu. They might have an allergy to a really common food and they'll be like, well, I'm not going to ask the event steward to not use beef in anything. But if I know that only 1 of 10 dishes has beef, I'm going to sign up. So let's talk about allergies as early as we can. And then if people have loads of allergies, can they bring their own meal and sit with their friends and still be there? Think about it. If you have classes or any sorts of demos, of course, you're going to have 2 sets of signups, right? First, we have the, hey, I need instructors. And then we have the, hey, I need learners. We see this with the University of Atlanta. There's 2 calls for things. As soon as you ask for classes, they want to know what kind of classes you want, how long, like is this a 1-hour class, 2-hour class, a 4-hour workshop? They want to know how long. They might want to know if there's a whiteboard or projector or a kitchen. As soon as you ask, of course, students to sign up, and we've all been here as students. Okay, I want to take it. How do I sign up? There's a limit of 10. What if it fills up? Is there a wait list? Or maybe it's a make and take and you're supposed to bring, I don't know, a ball of yarn and $3 for a null binding needle. Just communication, right? People that know this are going to have less anxiety and less worries and fewer bad experiences because they were underprepared. Oh, last one, and I also forgot. Also, if you're looking for instructors for your local branch, you probably want to consider advertising to your neighboring areas because it brings in new teachers with new classes they've never seen, and same thing with tournaments. You probably want to advertise to your local areas unless it's a tournament for your populace specifically, so that your fighters get a chance to interact with people they don't see every week at fighter practice. Bring in some fresh blood and make this a more interesting event by getting people to meet each other from the neighboring area. Again, though, as soon as you're going to have any competition or tournament, okay, how do I sign up? When do I sign up? If it's an ANS competition, what kind of documentation do you want? If it's a tournament, what is the tournament style going to be? What weapons am I going to need with my rapier? These are things people want to know. They often want to know how winners are going to be decided. And prize tournaments, they're like, hey, share, I want to see a picture of the prize, right? It's a prize tournament. What am I going to get? This is a great way to build interest. But again, if it is a restricted tournament, it's only for people that have never won a tournament before. There's a nice way to say it. This is open to people who have never won a tournament. And there's a mean way to say it. If you have ever won a tournament, you need not apply. We don't want you, right? Just be sensible. Always say this is who it's open to rather than belaboring who we don't like. That is never a good idea on the internet. Okay, now we are in the last month. Use that cute little scheduling tool because you're going to have a lot of posts, probably. This is when we wrangle most of our volunteers. Like we've had a feast steward for months, but now we need 8 people to serve tables and 5 people to help with prep and 2 people for scullery. This is when we're grabbing them. We're grabbing them late. We had a feast yesterday, so that's kind of where my brain is locally. And then, if there's benefits of volunteering, servers eat free in the kitchen. You missed the deadline for the feast and it's sold out and you still want to eat, you can serve and get free food. Tell people. If you have a competition, announce who's competing, especially if they're from neighboring baronies or branches. Share that with their neighbors and friends so that maybe you get some more participation and their friends will come. And then just highlight what you're going to be doing. You've seen it with the University of Atlantia, and you'll see some of the smaller universities, like local, they'll have every single class will have like a little picture of what it's about and a little title, and they'll just schedule those to come out one a day. These are all ways you can get a lot of excitement going. In the last week, my job is basically done, except for some of the last minute stuff. This is when it's crazy and our event teams are busy. This is when we remind people about parking. We remind them, hey, do bring a chair and a water bottle. Do not bring a wood fire pit. Do bring a gas fire pit, things like that. This is your last minute stuff to pack. If there's a small cache for classes or merchants, you might want to be like, hey, yay, we look forward to seeing you with the merchants. Just to remind people they need to pack this stuff because we all forget. And that is it. I know I have tried to go fast to give us, extra time. We're right barely on time. I will now ask to close the recording and we will have open Q&A. So if you've turned your camera off to not be recorded, as soon as my moderator tells me we're clear, then we're going to go off.